Here's Alidar. He's moving too. And Alidar comes like a shot into third.
Fusaichi Pegasus will roll into Kentucky as the favorite in the Derby.
And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one.
37 years before American Pharoah and the Triple Crown, a couple of horses put it all out on the racetrack, Richie.
Well, this was the second Belmont I ever saw live, and I was starting to think that the Triple Crown was easy.
Yeah, I mean, they thought it was going to be easy. They said it was too easy the next year when Spectacular Bid almost won. But Affirmed and Alidar, you can't say Affirmed without Alidar. Champion 2-year-old. He beat Alidar 4 times, a 2-year-old. Steve Cawthon, you had the Cawthon factor going on. Then you have Alidar for Calumet. He had beaten Affirmed. Their rivalry, I'm going to say it has to be the greatest rivalry, at least in the last 50 years, if not ever.
The greatest that I've ever had the privilege to witness. And Steve Cawthon was the main reason I wanted to become a jockey. I idolized him. And he actually took time out the next day. I was by the racing office. I was 14 years old, to talk to me about riding Affirmed, the Triple Crown, and encourage me to be a jockey. He was all class.
No, and you think of those stories, and it reminds you how important people are in racing, because I, too, can remember meeting people early in my career, people who worked in racing, and how important it was that those people were kind to you. People like Ralph Thoreau Sr., who was so nice to me and important. But these horses, Affirmed and Alidar, and it was Affirmed speed, sort of like the easygoer Sunday Silence battle that gave him a bit of an edge. But George Velasquez was not allowing Affirmed speed to give him an advantage in this race.
No, the first half was slow, but then George took it to him and was trying to make it a test of stamina and hoping that Alidar would make Affirmed crack. Well, obviously, all it did was turn into one of the most epic races you're ever going to see.
This was an incredible battle. I had grown up seeing Jaipar and Raidan in their Travers, the 2 horses that battled around this racetrack. And they used to show those old films early in the day at Saratoga, and I watched them. And this was our Jaipar and Raidan, because these 2 horses hooked up halfway through, and at no point do they ever give an inch.
No, it went 25 the first quarter, 25 the second quarter. Then they're going to go 24 flat. Then they're going to go to 23-2. This is in the middle of the race, and it was essentially a match race. And here you've got Steve Cawthon, 18 years old. Can't imagine the immense pressure he's under going for a Triple Crown. George Velasquez, who was only 31 at the time, but so accomplished. And this was epic. And 2 epic stables as well. I mean, Harborview Farms and Calumet. This was great. We were so fortunate to cut our teeth in racing in this era.
I agree. I feel very lucky to have been around at this time and seen races like this. And you watch this thrilling battle, and you watch these horses battling. They've already been battling now for 3-4 furlongs, and there's a long way to go down the stretch. You forget how much was on the line.
Oh, absolutely. And being here, I was on the 3rd floor with my legs dangling over the railing with my best friend, and we actually made it to the winner's circle by the time he got back there, running between people's legs. Interesting to watch George Velasquez riding Cawthon so close, and he had an idea, and I'll tell you about it after we listen to the call.
We'll take these horses down to the wire.
As they come to the head of the stretch, it is still Affirmed as they come to the quarter pole. He's holding on to a head lead. Alidar is outside of him and challenging that lead. The 2 are heads apart, and Alidar's got a lead. Alidar put ahead in front, right in the middle of the stretch. It's Alidar and Affirmed battling back along the inside. We'll test these 2 to the wire. Affirmed under a left-hand whip. Alidar on the outside driving. Affirmed and Alidar heads apart. Affirmed's got a nose in front as they come onto the wire.
Incredible call by Chick Anderson of 2 mortals in this game. But Affirmed would not let Alidar by.
No, he got by a little bit.
He did actually
right?
get by. I shouldn't say that. You're right.
But then he fought back. It was interesting because I talked to George Velasquez about this. He said he was riding him really close, and he had this idea about knocking the stick out of Steve Cawthon's hand, and he was good at it. He did it to me on more than one occasion. He'd hit you right on the top of your hand, and it would open your hand, but he rode him so close that Cawthon had to switch to his left hand, and that was the first time he had ever hit Affirmed left-handed, and he found more.
Absolutely amazing watching these horses go down to the wire. So heartbreaking for Alidar, George Velasquez, John Veach, and of course that famous John Veach story. Very good horse in 3rd, by the way. Darby Creek Road, believe it, been 3rd in the first 2 races. John Veach took quite a beating in this Triple Crown. When Affirmed beat Alidar in the Youthful, that was Alidar's debut, and Alidar was favored as a first-time starter in a stake.
Wow, look at this beautiful chestnut colt that was, I'm sure, turning a lot of heads in the morning. And how about it debuting in a stake? That's how much they thought of him. And then breaking his maiden in a stake.
And he whipped him in the Great American. I think he won that Great American by open lengths. The Champagne, when he beat him, and you'll remember this, George kind of stuck up on him, and he ran by way out in the middle of the racetrack, and that was the only time he finished ahead of him the rest of his career, and he did it by kind of a surprise attack.
Well, Affirmed was kind of busy, I think, that day with Darby Creek Road.
Sauceboat as well,
maybe Sauceboat, and he was so wide of him that he was able to run by him from the outside. You did not want to get into a street brawl with Affirmed because he was going to be the last man standing.
No, this was an amazing race, amazing racehorses, Affirmed and Alydar. They'll be remembered forever in the history of racing.